Welcome back to the archives, traveler. You have walked through the valley of the shadow of death to find me, and I have been expecting you. Tonight, we are not just telling a ghost story, we are shattering a cultural hallucination. We are going to dismantle an image that has been burned into your subconscious since the very first time you were told to be afraid of the dark. It is a lie that has comforted you for years, even if you don't realize it. Close your eyes for a moment and listen to the silence of the void. I want you to picture the enemy, picture the adversary, picture the devil. What do you see in the theater of your mind? I suspect you see a figure rooted in medieval folklore and Hollywood prosthetics. You see a man with skin the color of fresh blood. You see cloven hooves, like a goat, scratching against the floor. You see a long, pointed tail whipping through the air. You see a pair of black, bat-like wings, leathery and ragged. You see a pitchfork, a goatee, and horns curling from a monstrous forehead. You see a beast, a monster, something ugly, distorted, and physically repulsive. We cling to this image. We love this image. It makes us feel safe in a very primal way. If evil is ugly, then it is easily identified. If the devil looks like a monster, then we know exactly when to run. We know that if something repulsive steps out of the shadows, it is the enemy. But this image is a fabrication. It is a mask we invented to cope with a reality that is far too terrifying for the fragile human psyche to process. It is a caricature drawn by Dante, painted by Renaissance artists, and solidified by pop culture. It is a cartoon villain designed to scare children into behaving, but it has nothing to do with the ancient truth. The archives I hold in my hands tell a different story. The forbidden texts, the scrolls of the prophets, and the visions of the seers do not describe a creature of mud and beastly flesh. They describe a being of blinding, impossible light. They describe a geometry so perfect and so intense that to look upon it is to risk madness. To look upon the true form of Lucifer is not to see a monster. It is to see the absolute perfection of wisdom and beauty, corrupted only by a pride as vast as the universe itself. Imagine standing before a mirror that reflects not your face, but the raw, unfiltered intensity of a dying star. That is the presence we are dealing with tonight. We are not talking about a fallen man. We are talking about a fallen architecture of light, a being composed of the very building blocks of the cosmos. The prophet Ezekiel gives us a terrifying glimpse into this forbidden anatomy. He speaks of the king of Tyre, a proxy for the fallen one. And the language he uses is not biological. It is mineral, it is elemental, it is geological. He does not describe skin pores or hair. Thou hast been in Eden, the garden of God. Every precious stone was thy covering. Let those words sink into the marrow of your bones. He was not naked. He was not covered in fur or scales. He was armored in the most precious substances in existence. The text lists them with forensic precision. Sardius, topaz, diamond. These were not jewelry he wore. They were the very essence of his outer shell. Beryl, onyx, jasper. His form was a shifting, refracting landscape of solidified light. Sapphire, emerald, carbuncle, and gold. Imagine a being whose skin is a mosaic of living gemstones, each facet catching the glory of the throne and amplifying it. He was a living, breathing prism. When he moved, light didn't just bounce off him, it passed through him, splitting into a million colors that don't even have names in our language. But the horror does not stop at his appearance. It extends to his function. The design of his body was not just for sight, it was for sound. The text says, "The workmanship of thy tabrets and of thy pipes was prepared in thee in the day that thou wast created." He was not just a being, he was a living orchestra. His very body was constructed to resonate with the music of the spheres. He had wind instruments and percussion built into his very anatomy. He was a celestial instrument, a massive, intelligent organ designed to lead the worship of the infinite. Every movement he made created a harmony. Every breath he took was a chord. He was the conductor of the heavenly host, the frequency of perfection. So why do we paint him as a goat man? Why do we reduce this cosmic entity to a cartoon with a pitchfork? Because the truth is too much. The truth implies that evil can be beautiful. The truth implies that the most dangerous thing in the universe is not the monster in the dark, but the angel of light. A being of absolute beauty who hates you is far scarier than a beast in the shadows. A beast wants to tear your flesh. This being wants to dismantle your soul with a smile that blinds you. We are about to peel back the layers of history, mistranslation, and fear. We are going to look directly at the morning star before he crashed into the earth. Forget the red suit, forget the horns, forget the smell of sulfur and the cloven hooves. The truth is geometric, the truth is glowing, the truth is utterly, terrifyingly alien. You have been warned, traveler. We are about to step into the light, and it might burn. Are you ready to see what perfection looks like right before it begins to rot? You hear the word cherub, and your mind likely drifts to a very specific, very safe image. You think of a chubby infant with tiny wings on a Valentine's Day card. You think of Renaissance paintings in soft pastels. This is perhaps the single greatest deception in the history of art. It is a soft lie designed to cover a hard, jagged truth. It is a pacifier for the human mind. Lucifer was the anointed cherub that covereth. In the ancient Near Eastern context, and in the raw Hebrew text, a cherub is not a baby. A cherub is a guardian beast of terrifying power. It is a chimera. It is a composite entity. It is a biological weapon designed to guard the holiness of the absolute from anything unholy. To understand Lucifer's true form, we must look at the class of beings to which he belonged. The prophet Ezekiel describes them with a trembling hand, struggling to put into words what he is seeing. They do not have a single human face. This is the first mistake we make. We humanize the devil to understand him. But he is not human. He possessed 4 distinct faces. Picture this anatomy clearly in your mind, if you can stand it. The front face was indeed that of a man. This represents intelligence, reason, and the ability to interact. But that is where the familiarity ends. Twisting from the right side of the same neck was the face of a lion, a predator, a symbol of raw, untamed strength and kingly dominance. On the left side, the face of an ox. This represents unyielding service and burden-bearing power, a force that cannot be stopped or moved against its will. And from behind, the face of an eagle, the symbol of speed, divine perspective, and the ability to strike from the heavens. Imagine standing before a being with a neck thick enough to support 4 distinct craniums. Imagine looking into a visage that is simultaneously predatory, bovine, avian, and human. He doesn't have to turn his head to see you. He is always facing you. He is always facing every direction at once. And then, there are the wings. He did not have 2 graceful, feathery bird wings like a dove. The texts describe a much more complex aerodynamic structure. He had 4 wings. 2 were used to cover his body in a gesture of absolute humility before the source. The other 2 were extended, used to propel him through the dimensional ether. And the sound of these wings was not a soft flutter. Ezekiel writes that it was like the noise of great waters, as the voice of the Almighty, the voice of speech as the noise of an host. When Lucifer moved, it sounded like a roaring ocean or a marching army. The displacement of air alone would be enough to crush a human chest. But look closer at the anatomy under those wings. The text mentions the hands of a man under their wings. This is a grotesque mixture of the familiar and the beastly. Human hands protruding from a body that is fundamentally alien, a biology that defies every law of evolutionary physics. However, we have not yet reached the most unsettling detail, the detail that should make you look at the dark corners of your room differently. The texts speak of these high-ranking beings as being full of eyes round about. This is not a metaphor. This is a description of a panopticon. Lucifer was designed to be the ultimate observer. Imagine eyes not just on the faces, but on the backs, eyes embedded in the structure of the wings, eyes scattered across the body like gems. He was a being of total awareness. There was no blind spot in his perception. He was designed to watch over the throne, to ensure that nothing impure approached. He was a surveillance system made of spirit and light, a creature that could see into the ultraviolet, into the infrared, and into the spiritual spectrums we cannot even name. And he did not walk on the ground like we do. The cherubim are associated with wheels within wheels. The ophanim, These were gyroscopic structures, rimmed with eyes, that moved alongside the living creatures. The spirit of the creature was in the wheels. It suggests a fusion of biology and technology that looks more like a UFO sighting than a Sunday school lesson. A biomechanical entity of supreme complexity. Ezekiel tells us that this being walked up and down in the midst of the stones of fire. Consider the environment he inhabited. He was not walking on grass. He was walking in a high-energy environment. Stones of fire implies a place of plasma, of radiation, of matter in a state of combustion. He was comfortable in an environment that would vaporize a human being instantly. He was fireproof. He was radiation-proof. He was not flesh and blood as we know it. He was a creature of multi-dimensional geometry, built to withstand the direct, radioactive glory of the infinite without burning up. So, when you think of the fall, do not picture a man tripping and falling from a cloud. Picture this complex, multi-faced, four-winged, eye-covered biological machine crashing from the sky. Picture a living diamond, a musical instrument the size of a titan, streaking through the atmosphere like a burning satellite. The tragedy is that his form was not taken away from him when he fell. It was corrupted. It was twisted. The diamonds darkened. The internal music turned into a discordant shriek. The light that shone through him became a black hole that sucks light in. But the power remains. He is still that creature of eyes and fire. He is still that multi-faced chimera. He is just broken now. He is a shattered mirror that still reflects a distorted image of the glory he once held. And that makes him infinitely more dangerous than a red man with a pitchfork. We have dissected the anatomy. We have looked at the four faces, the four wings, the eyes, and the living stones. But we have yet to touch upon the most terrifying aspect of this entity. The true horror is not his appearance. The true horror is his ability to weaponize it. The horror is in the mimicry. The ancient texts give us a very specific warning that chills the blood. It says that Satan himself transforms himself into an angel of light. Think about the implications of that statement. It does not say he disguises himself. It implies a reversion, a momentary return to form. He can toggle the switch. He can reignite the stones. He can smooth over the cracks in his diamond armor and present himself to you as the perfection he once was. If the devil appeared to you tonight standing at the foot of your bed, do not expect sulfur and smoke. Do not expect a beast that makes you scream in terror. Expect a being of such overwhelming magnificence that you would be tempted to fall to your knees and worship him. Expect a light so warm and inviting that you would want to walk into it. This is the trap. This is the ultimate predator's camouflage. The anglerfish uses a light in the deep ocean to attract prey before it snaps its jaws. Lucifer is the cosmic anglerfish. He uses his former glory, his shattered beauty, as the lure. He knows that human beings are hardwired to trust what is beautiful. We suffer from the halo effect. We instinctively believe that if something is beautiful, it must be good. If something shines, it must be holy. He hacks this psychological vulnerability with the precision of a master surgeon. He presents you with wisdom, with secret knowledge, with the light of understanding. He doesn't come to you offering pain. He comes offering a solution. He comes offering a shortcut to godhood, just as he did in the garden. You shall be as gods. That was the first pitch. And it came from a creature that looked like a divine messenger, not a snake in the grass. The serpent in the original Hebrew, the Nakash, implies a shining one, an upright, glowing being. Eve was not talking to a reptile. She was talking to a burning seraph. This reframes everything we know about spiritual warfare. The enemy is not the monster under the bed. The enemy is the false Christ who looks better than the real one. He is a being of supreme intelligence. Remember, he was the sum of wisdom. He knows the mathematical equations that bind the universe together. He knows the frequency of the human soul. He knows exactly what you want to hear and exactly how you want to see it. He is the architect of the uncanny valley. When you look at him, you might feel a deep, primal wrongness beneath the beauty, a dissonance in the music. The eyes on the wings might blink out of sync. The light might have a cold, radioactive quality that sickens you after a while. The perfection is too perfect. It is a sterile, dead perfection. It is the beauty of a diamond that has been frozen in absolute zero. It has form, but it has no warmth. And that is the final revelation of the archives tonight. We are dealing with a cold intelligence, a being that has divorced itself from the source of life, but kept the machinery of life. He is a walking paradox, a corpse that shines, a dead thing that never stops moving. So, traveler, as you leave the archives and return to the surface world, take this warning with you. Be careful what you look for in the dark, but be even more careful what you look for in the light. Do not be deceived by the glitter. Do not be seduced by the spectacle. If you see a being of pure light standing in your room, offering you the secrets of the universe, look closely at the light. Ask yourself if it warms you or if it burns you like radiation. Ask yourself if the music you hear is a harmony or just a beautiful scream disguised as a song. The true face of the enemy is not a goat. It is a mirror that reflects your own desire for power and beauty back at you until you are consumed by it. The archives are closing for now. The dust is settling on the scrolls of Ezekiel. The four faces are turning away, back into the shadows of history. Guard your mind, guard your soul, and remember, the brightest light casts the deepest shadow. I am Vector, and I will be waiting for you in the void. Don't let the light blind you.